Good afternoon. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome everyone to the 11th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame on behalf of the Maine Federation of Business Professional Women's Organizations. I am very happy to be presiding as the president of BPW Maine this year as our own past state president, Caroline Gentile, is inducted into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, along with Olympic marathon winner Joan, Benoit, Samuelson. Both women join an already prestigious group of women who have served to enhance the life of Maine women. Again, welcome and enjoy today's program. Good afternoon. On behalf of the University of Maine at Augusta, and by extension our president, Dr. Owen Cargill, I bring greetings from Dr. Thomas Abbott, who is Dean of Libraries and a member of the Futurama Foundation. Dr. Abbott called me early this morning, informing that he was rather ill, asked me to stand in his place, and I was very, very glad to do so. He sends his regrets, but he does and hopes that you all will have a lovely day here at the Benoit Library and during the presentation ceremony. I'd like to also mention that the University of Maine at Augusta hosts the Maine Women's Hall of Fame Futurama Foundation website. If you haven't seen it, you need to go to the address on the internet for the University of Maine at Augusta, and then go to the library page, and at the bottom of the library page you'll find the web link to click on. If you have any trouble finding it, please give me a call. Or call anyone here at the library if you have to help you get to that location. It's a very well put together site, and we are very happy to host it for you. I would also like to say congratulations to the two inductees this year, Dr. Caroline Gentile, as well as Joan, Benoit, Samuelson. Do have a lovely day today, and thank you for allowing me to be part of it.
I'm Joan Hammond, and I'm serving as president of the BPW Maine Futurama Foundation. Welcome. Thank you for participating in this special event. I begin by sharing a message from the National Women's History Project. Women in the 20th century changed American society in ways that would have astonished earlier generations. By their combined efforts, women overcame many of the severe social and legal barriers that had restricted their lives. And with their newly won opportunities, women became active throughout public life. During the 20th century, women made a significant impact in all areas of American life, including government, health, music, business, athletics, literature, education, human rights, religion, and international relations. We have every reason to feel pride in the extraordinary accomplishments and contributions of women as we look back over the 20th century. Now, imagine the future. And that brings us to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame and this induction ceremony. Today, we honor two remarkable women who are making a difference in Maine. As we have done for 11 years, we pay an enduring tribute to women of achievement. We who share responsibility for the creation, support, and continuation of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame do have reason to be proud. However, will we ever catch up? So many women in Maine, or with Maine connections, have truly made a difference during their lifetime. Most have never been included in the published histories of Maine. Many have been the unsung heroines of their communities. Many have forged careers in fields that were outside the perceived realm of women's work, and served as mentors and role models for the next generation of women. Many have struggled to educate themselves and then to educate others. Many have worked diligently to become the first woman doctor or lawyer, the first woman to be hired as a minister or a college president, the first woman poet laureate, the first woman elected as mayor or legislator, the first woman to serve as a judge, even the first woman allowed to serve on a jury. Many women have been too modest to assert their earned rights or to be recognized for their accomplishments. In fact, many have been nearly invisible, anonymous, their talents unobtrusive or diminished, perhaps because of modesty, or perhaps simply because that's the way it is in our culture. The social climate is changing. Women are indeed becoming more confident and assertive, and many more women are making a difference. No, we simply can't catch up in giving deserved recognition to all who truly belong on this wall of the Women's Hall of Fame. However, it's time for families, communities, schools and churches, workplaces, legislators, and historians to give women credit where it is being earned. Today, in celebrating the outstanding achievements of Caroline Gentile and Joan Benoit Samuelson, I urge you each to honor in your own way women who have made a personal difference for each of you. And please consider making a nomination for one of the women who will be honored by this Women's Hall of Fame next year. Thank you.
We'll keep adjusting this to try to get it right. First of all, I would like to thank President Ann Spencer of the Maine Federation of DPW, Jean Thomas of UMA, and President Jean Hammond of the Maine DPW Futurama Foundation. We appreciate you extending greetings to everyone here today. We are all indeed pleased that so many of you could join us today, and we are glad that the ceremony is taking place today and not yesterday. I'm sure all of you would like a nice sunny day to arrive and not the kind of snow we had yesterday. To begin with, I would like to introduce the other two co-chairs of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. You saw them both earlier in the presentation, but I'd like them to stand now so you know who they are. Maxine Russakoff and Nancy E. Davis. Both of them, along with myself, are past state presidents of the Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women. Their assistance, along with that of the many people who helped to prepare for this induction ceremony, is truly appreciated. Several other past state presidents are here today helping with the event. I know a lot of you are enjoying the refreshments. One of the past state presidents did all the cooking herself, Vi Willett. Would you please stand so we can and several others are expressed their regrets about not being here today, and we wanted everyone to be welcome. And we were saddened by the recent passing of the past state president, Virginia Grant, a few weeks ago. Several previous inductees in the Maine Women's Hall of Fame asked that greetings be extended on their behalf. Both Mabel Wadsworth and Esther E. Wood wanted to be remembered to you, and they were sorry they couldn't be here. One other previous inductee, Elizabeth Liz Crandall, had planned to be with us today, but she recently had a slight stroke and has had a pacemaker installed and is just recently home from the hospital and is basically homebound. She feels lucky that there was no brain damage but she didn't feel that she could drive this far to be here with us today. There is a card available to sign with best wishes for her over there at the registration table, so if any of you wanted to extend greetings to her when this is through, please feel free to sign. And then we are very pleased to have an inductee who was not able to be here 2 years ago in person when she herself was inducted into the Hall of Fame. She was away traveling completely on the other side of the earth. And I would like to have Lois Galgay-Record, please stand so we could welcome her today. Regrets were expressed by several people who could not be with us today. Governor Angus S. King Jr. said, "Thank you for inviting me to participate in the 11th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame celebration at the Benoit Library on the campus of the University of Maine at Augusta. Unfortunately, previous scheduled family commitments on Saturday 18th will preclude my attendance, but I certainly appreciate the invitation. I wish you and the celebration participants the best of luck for a great gathering and for continued success in the future. Keep up the good work. Thanks again and best wishes." Now, a letter from one of last year's inductees, United States Senator Olympia Snow. "Dear friends, please accept my warmest greetings and best wishes as you gather for the 11th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Through the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, the great work that is being done by so many Maine women in Maine receives the recognition it so richly deserves. As one who has long admired both of these outstanding women, I have no doubt that this year's inductees are wonderful choices. Joan, Benoit, Samuelson, and Professor Caroline Gentile have both blazed inspiring trails for women in the United States and throughout the nation. They have proven that through hard work and dedication, we are able to turn dreams into realities. As a professor at the University of Maine at Prescott, Caroline uses her gifts every day to inspire young minds both in and out of the classroom. Over the past 5 decades, she has dedicated herself to developing one of the finest physical education programs in the United States. Her efforts are nationally recognized and her professionalism is praised by her peers. I know that I have always enjoyed working with her to address issues of importance to Maine and have benefited from her commitment to excellence. She is certainly worthy of this honor and has undoubtedly earned the respect of all who have been fortunate to have worked with her. Equally inspiring is Joan's remarkable career as a record-setting marathon runner. Since her first Boston Marathon win in 1979, she has taken the nation's running community by storm and earned a place among the world's top marathon competitors. Her tenacity and winning spirit led her to win the 1984 Olympic trials only 17 days after knee surgery. And more than 15 years later, she remains competitive at the Olympic level. In addition to these accomplishments, she is also active as a member of the Maine Commission on Women. These women, in the fulfillment of their dreams, serve as a reminder to us all that regardless of gender, we can take our visions and develop them into our legacies. I commend you, Joan and Caroline, for all of your work on behalf of Maine women. You have both brought a great deal of honor to the women in our great state, and I'm pleased to join with your family, friends, and colleagues in expressing my appreciation for all that you do. Again, best wishes for a successful ceremony. Sincerely, Olympia J. Snow, United States Senator. And now I have letters from Senator Susan Collins. The first one is to Dear Professor Gentile. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to congratulate you today on your induction into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. This distinct honor is a fitting tribute to the personal and professional success that you have enjoyed in your 54 years of training young people in the field of health, physical education, and recreation. The recognition that your work has garnered in the past should not be overlooked, and your induction will ensure that your accomplishments are similarly chronicled for the motivating young women of today and tomorrow. As an advocate for women and a nationally known educator, you have a wealth of experience, knowledge, and successes that will be instructive and encouraging to inspiring young people in the solid life. Your remarkable list of associations and membership rival those of the most accomplished women scholars in our country. Congratulations on each of those achievements and a special honor as an inductee into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Please accept my best wishes for a wonderful celebration today. I know that many accolades will follow you and your work in the weeks and years ahead. You identified your dream, pursued it with determination. There is no greater achievement. With sincere congratulations, I am sincerely Susan Collins, United States Senator. And her other letter is, Dear Ms. Samuelson, to be quoted is often a sign of flattery, and you once said, I look at victories as milestones on a very long highway. Today, as an inductee into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, you have certainly distinguished yourself with another victory along life's highway. Congratulations on this distinct honor. Girls and young women around the world have marveled at your accomplishments since 1984. And today, your competitive spirit continues to encourage and impress women and men alike. Whether it is the Big Brother, Big Sister, Communities for Children, or the Special Olympics, you have devoted yourself to worthy causes that symbolize a caring commitment to young people and their communities. Your professional, family, and volunteer accomplishments distinguish you and the affiliations that you have assumed. But despite the best efforts of many, the long-standing American marathon record of True 21:21 belongs to you. When taken together, these achievements make you an obvious recipient of honors bestowed by the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Enjoy the celebration today and relish the praise that you will deservedly receive. The milestones await on the road and hills ahead. I join the others saluting you and rest assured that you will continue to conquer them and more in the future. With best wishes for continued success, I am sincerely Susan Collins, United States Senator. And I feel pleased that both of them took time to respond to our invitation, even though they couldn't be here today. We are honored to have two such outstanding women to induct into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame today. Professor Caroline Gentile is a nationally known educator in the field of health, physical education, and recreation. She was nominated by the University of Maine at Presque Isle, and Joan Benoit Samuelson, the first women's Olympic marathon winner, nominated by the Augusta Area Business and Professional Women's Club. We are sorry that Joan could not be here today. Standing in for her is Sarah Walton, who is the president of the League of Women Voters of Maine. Also on this side of the podium is Linda Moran Pascal, president of the Augusta BTW. At this time, we would like to begin the presentation for Professor Caroline Gentile. The presentations will be given by Nancy Hensel, president, University of Maine at Presque Isle, Guy Gallagher, professor of French, University of Maine at Presque Isle, and Don Simpson, former professor of biology, University of Maine at Presque Isle. And we are all sitting back to enjoy a chance to hear all of your great accomplishments, Caroline. President Hensel, please. Thank you, Sally. Let me say how wonderful it is to see so many University of Maine at Presque Isle alumni and retired faculty and people from the community of Presque Isle here, as well as everyone else, to honor Caroline today. Okay. Thank you. As president of the University of Maine at Presque Isle, it's my pleasure to celebrate with Caroline this prestigious award. And I have to confess that, though, that I'm new to the university, and so I can't speak firsthand on all of her accomplishments and the lore of her tenure on campus. I must say, though, when I accepted the presidency or the interim presidency there, one of the first things I heard was that Caroline Gentile was a professor there, and people encouraged me to meet her as soon as I went to campus. Anyway, I'm going to leave it in the capable hands of Guy Gallagher and Don Simpson to tell some stories about Caroline. But I can tell you, as an outsider of sorts, that the stories surrounding this woman are what legends are made of. And Caroline really is a living legend. From building programs to pulling prospective students in from the state of Fields and Augusta County, the University of Maine at Presque Isle owes a great deal of gratitude to Ms. Gentile.
for her dedication and service over many years. And I do mean many. She was hired in the fall of 1946 to teach physical education to a population of approximately 50 students. She was paid $1,900 for the year, and she was advised to bring her own drapes, bedding, rugs, and bureau stars. I don't even know if we use bureau stars. But the university provided a bed and pillow for her. So with 2 new basketballs, soccer balls, softballs, and only 1 volleyball, I don't know why that was the case, she began her work. And after 54 years, she continues her work. She still teaches. And one has to, or should be, in good physical condition to teach physical education. Now, I don't really know how old Miss Gentile is, but I can make an educated guess. I know she probably has at least 20 years on me, and at least 50 years on some of her students. But I can tell you that she's in better shape than all of us. And not too long ago, one of our retired professors and a good friend of Caroline's, Nan Amadeo, called me up, and she shared a story that reinforces this notion. And Nan told me that she and Caroline were walking with another friend who was in her 30s. And the young friend in the 30s challenged Caroline to a race. And you can imagine who won. It was Caroline. But not only did she win, I think they told me that she took the last third or so of the race running backwards. Carolyn is a nationally known educator in the field of health, physical education, and recreation. And she has built a physical education program at the university that has gained a reputation for excellence around New England and has remained in good standing throughout her tenure at our university. She's been an outstanding role model for her students, many of whom have gone on to receive their own recognition in their fields, and I know many of them are here today. To name just a few, Major General Mary Morgan of the U.S. Army, Bonnie Tyler, who is here today, nominated in 1991 as Physical Education Teacher of the Year for the United States, and Sherry Abbott Shane, who retired in 1998 as Professor Emerita of Physical Education at Bates College, and she's also here today. Carolyn is a perfectionist who demands the best from her students. Her ethics, integrity, discipline, motivation, and professionalism are reflected in the success of her graduates, and there have been many graduates. In November, Ms. Gentile received the Outstanding Leadership Award from the Maine Association of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. And I had the pleasure of attending that meeting, and during the banquet, the presenter asked if those present who had had Ms. Gentile for a teacher would stand up. And in a crowded room at the Samoset Dining Hall, half the room rose to their feet. And you can think that's a considerable influence on the young children and the students in our state of Maine. Not only is Carolyn an advocate for her students, she is also an advocate for women. She has been an active participant and leader in the National Federation of Business and Professional Women's Clubs, in the American Association of University Women, and Delta Kappa Gamma. She was a gubernatorial appointee to the Maine Commission for Women and was selected in 1999 by the Maine Sunday Telegram to serve on a committee to identify the top 20 Maine athletes of the century. The person selected as the top Maine athlete of the century was a woman, Joan Benoit Samuelson. So it seems fitting that today they should share this honor together. More than anything else, Carolyn is a leader. Besides her leadership roles in various community organizations, she has served on every committee in the university and chaired every committee as well. And for 20 years, she was chair of the Division of Health, Physical Education, and Recreation. She has also served on the Governor's Advisory Commission for Health, Education, and Recreation. For 54 years, she has paved the way for women, and we all owe her a debt of gratitude. And I have to count myself among the grateful as well. As president of the University of Maine at Presque Isle, I'm only the 4th woman to serve in such a role within the University of Maine system. And it's women like Carolyn who forged a path for me in the higher education arena. And I can only say thank you. She was working hard to inspire other women to take on leadership roles within their field. But beyond the leader and the teacher, there is the person. The dedicated aunt, and many of Carolyn's family are here today, friends and colleagues, who puts others before herself. Although she's never had children of her own, she has kept a watchful eye on many of her nieces and nephews. For years, she devoted herself to every need of her two colleagues, Dr. Clifford Wadeen and Miss Nellie Dunning. Dr. Wadeen, who hired Caroline, served as the institution's principal and president for 26 years, and I believe his granddaughter is here in the audience today, too. And Miss Dunning ran the office, and some say the university as well. Among the three of them, the university would grow and prosper. When they retired, Carolyn split her devotion between the school and her mentors. She cared for them through old age, illness, and death. They never had a better friend. Carolyn is a unique individual. Of course, when I first came, I had to ask my assistant if I should call her Caroline. Most everyone on campus refers to her as Miss Gentile, and I think it's a mixture of respect and genuine affection. And there are many stories, and these are some of the stories, I guess, of which legends are made. But if you peel back the layers, you will find simply the woman who was determined to do her best and has followed her credo to the end. It is for these women that such halls of fame were designed. So her picture will hang here behind us, in fact it is hanging there now, as a reminder of all of us to reach beyond our limits. But she will continue to live the mission of the University of Maine at Presque Isle. And Caroline, or should I say Miss Gentile, thank you for all of your service to the University of Maine at Presque Isle and the state of Maine and your students who are spread all over the country. And I congratulate you on this well-deserved honor.
Carolyn wrote this for me. The truth takes more than 3/4 of an hour. Madam Chairman, honorees, ladies and gentlemen, it is a signal honor for me as a member of the faculty at the University of Maine at Presque Isle to endorse the choice you have made of Miss Carolyn Gentile for your Women's Hall of Fame. Ms. Gentile has been, as she's been known to generations and generations of students, would have been our unanimous choice as well. This extraordinary individual, over a long and distinguished career at the University of Maine at Presque Isle, has been a model of dedication and loyalty to her university, to her friends and colleagues, and to the status and promotion of women in our community and state. Carolyn's commitment to the University of Maine at Presque Isle is total and uncompromising. And this is understandable, certainly, because she was, in fact, one of the founders of our institution. When I arrived at the university 33 years ago, the reputation of the physical education department at Presque Isle was undisputed throughout New England. This was in great part the work of Carolyn Gentile. Physical education majors had the most rigorous program in the sciences and math of any group at the university. Our graduates occupied positions in public schools throughout the state and beyond. My wife, who is here, who taught in the local elementary school for several years, used to say that when Carolyn Gentile students came to your class, you could stand back, let them take over. They knew exactly how to manage young people, and their mastery of the skills was absolutely impeccable. Moreover, Carolyn's commitment to teaching has never faltered. I just caught myself the other day eavesdropping on one of her classes. She was bent over a desk, and she had two students actively engaged in discussing what does one do when the administrators in the public school system decide that they need to create some new buildings for physical education. What do you do then? And you probably didn't know I was listening, but I found it interesting, and I'm not a physical education major. Our colleagues at the university appreciate her particularly because whenever there is something that's particularly onerous and time-consuming to do, she accepts the challenge without the slightest groan. She sticks it out, she sees it through, and we can be proud of the product. Over the last several years, Carolyn's compassion has been sorely tested. She's lived through a series of personal crises with the illnesses of close friends and colleagues, and her loyalty has never wavered. While I do not wish to awaken sad memories, I can say that we would all be rich to have a friend like Carolyn. Now, in spite of all of her virtues, and she has many, I will not begin the process of beatification just yet. She does have some small faults, and I feel my principle to mention those as well. First of all, I'm sure this is a source of great shame for Carolyn. She is not a native of Augusta County. She's from away. And for folks up there, that is not something that is easily forgiven. Yes, she has lived there for 53 years, but like a fallen angel cake or a big spaghetti stain on a white tie, that is not something that you can repair easily. So I am thinking seriously of getting some local potato farmers and some hangers-on from the restaurants in Presque Isle and Caribou and Port Fairfield to see if we can make her an honorary citizen of Augusta County. But this is not going to be easy because things do move very slowly. Also, it must be mentioned that Carolyn has a reputation as a formidable conservator. She tends to hang on to those precious artifacts that bestrew the path of any teaching career. Old lesson plans, student work, out-of-date textbooks, even memos from administrators, if you can imagine. In 52 years, these things can pile up. We've simply had to seal off some of her former offices, and we've set up cellar jacks to reinforce the floor of her present space. So, if you hear a tremendous rumbling noise down here in the south, it may be that some of those piles have shifted, the building has collapsed, and we've all been tumbled into a massive heap. Secretaries, professors, arms and legs akimbo, books and faded lectures, bricks and mortar, and enormous files, and a dubious memorial to Carolyn's less than perfect filing skills. Such minor faults only help us to appreciate her the more. And so let me say, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm happy and proud to be a colleague and friend of Carolyn Gentile. I congratulate all of you for seeing in her a courageous and dedicated woman, a gifted educator, and a quite astonishing human being. And I thank the Business and Professional Women's Club of Maine for honoring one of whom we at Presque Isle are very, very proud. Thank you very much.
I concur with everything that's been said, and I won't repeat those things. But I'm going to do something quite dangerous today. I think I'm going to speak extemporaneously because I've known Carolyn longer, I guess, than anyone up here at least has. And I remember some of our get-togethers and so forth. I first met Caroline in 1965. I was hired as a part-time instructor. Teach physiology and anatomy, actually, at that time, and that was one of the courses at Caroline's HPR at that stage. And the thing that amazed me that first year and in ensuing years after that was that I remember, this was, let me backtrack just a moment, this was a small college in those days. We had 500 to 600 students who weren't accredited. Accreditation was still down the road a ways. I think we were called Augusta State Teachers College. And so we were struggling. I guess that was, we didn't think we were, but we were. And when we got to the spring of that first year that I taught, all of Carolyn's students, I think they all, within a week or two, before graduation, had jobs. I really couldn't fathom that. It happened again the next year and the next, and what was happening was that the superintendent of the state realized that the premier HPR people were coming out of Presque Isle, and they were all being hired, and from the top of the class to the bottom of the class. And that's an amazing accomplishment to think back of a non-accredited small school. I think the only programs we had then were HPR and elementary education or something. Another thing I remember about Carolyn was I left the Presque Isle campus on Oran on 81, And I was in administration down there really for my tenure down there. And I spent a lot of time evaluating faculty. That's what we do, I guess. We spent a lot of time with student evaluations and other things. And I learned down there quite quickly that some of the best way to evaluate your faculty was to look at the students that had graduated, and after when they came back in 2 or 3 years, what professors did they seek out and want to talk to? Because those were the people that provided them with the tools, wherewithal to make them successful. And it wasn't always the same as the student evaluations you used to get on those people that students were graduates. And so I believed in that so much that I actually instituted my department at that time. We used to send evaluations to the students who had graduated a couple of years to see who made the difference. The students came back to the Prescott campus, the HPRs. I was always amazed at how it applied. It happened. They looked up Carolyn Gentile. If she wasn't there, they made sure that they stayed around until she was there. They ran into me. Well, that was nice. We talked about it and so forth. But Carolyn was the one they wanted to talk to. That's a badge of honor for whoever it was. Another thing I recall about Carolyn was, you heard her alluded to as a kind of an authority figure. She was that, believe me. And that stood her in good stead. She was a disciplinarian, and the students, 7/8 of the way of doing something was not ever good enough for Carolyn. But, back there in 65, we were a small faculty. Knew each other, and we were all first-name basis and all the rest of it. But Carolyn always called me Dr. Simpson. She never called me Dawn. And you'd think in a relationship between two people, one that was being called doctor must be intimidating. And that was just the opposite in our case. When Carolyn came rapping on my door, because I had her suite, and said, and I can still hear her, Dr. Simpson, we've got something we've got to discuss today. I was the one that had the dry mouth, sweaty palms, and all the rest of it. But we really didn't ever have any huge confrontations. We really didn't. We had some discussion, differences and so forth. And as soon as I agreed with Carolyn, I was many a truth is spoken in jest, remember that. Carolyn was a wonderful, is a wonderful educator. She truly is. I've seen quite a few in my span, and she is really top drawer. I can't imagine the things she's done and still doing. So Carolyn, from my perspective, congratulations. I'm just pleased that I could be a small part of this. For many more years. Good goal. I miss you. Very best.
Nobody mentioned that she's a friend, but she is a very special friend, and we're all very happy to be here to honor you. But I was talking with one of your special friends last night, who was Nan Amadeo, who was not able to be here today, and she said that there's always that old saying, those who can't teach, but that in county, it's revised, those who can do, and those who do it well teach. Caroline. It is really a true privilege to present this certificate to Caroline. It is the Maine Federation of Business Professional Women's Club, the BPW Maine Future Roundlet Foundation, and the University of Maine at Augusta present the 11th annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame Award to Professor Caroline Gentile, nominated by the University of Maine at Prescott, presented March 18, 2000, the University of Maine at Augusta, signed by Thomas Abbott, University of Maine, Augusta, and Spencer, the Chairman of the Maine Federation, and Jean Hammond, who is an item of first another little, the county is very special. If you've never been there, go. But those of you that are from there are very special people, and we always love to go out. But we also know that there's some memories from the county to be presented by some fellow BTW people. Sinette King and Brenda. Would you like to do that now? I think they probably want you to.
Yeah. Tell me what it's done. All right. Vanessa and I prepared a memory book which we would like to present to you a little bit later as a token of our appreciation for our dedication as an educator and your contribution to the business and professional women's club. And I would just like to say, Professor Gallagher, if you want to form a committee, have her as an honorary.
We have some people. Good.
We'll be first on it. The county is very proud to have one of our own BTW members receive such a prestigious award. Since there are too many letters to read in our memory book, we would like to share some of the interesting passages describing you, Caroline. What a great way to begin the new millennium. The University of Maine at Presque Isle would not be the same without you, Miss Gentile. Thank you, Caroline, for your lessons of self-discipline, hard work, and dedication. Old-fashioned hard work was always her label for success. Allowed us to have fun in her classes, but stood for absolutely no foolishness. Unconditional love for the Maine students. Your high standards, organization, and preparedness have always been a model for your students. One of my favorite sights at the gym was to watch you, Caroline, try to get the guys like Bill Faulkner and Don Waddell moving during square dancing classes. Overtime to her was just part of the job. There was no escaping La Gentile classes. I consider myself fortunate to be counted one of yours. Caroline has been my friend for many years, and I was privileged to serve as interim president of the campus. I could not speak strongly enough about her leadership role to her campus, her community, her state, and her nation. I don't have enough paper to record all the memories. I might recall something you would rather forget. Your contributions to higher education cannot be measured in years alone. You always gave a full measure, packed down, and overflowing. When I need a helping hand, you have the knowledge, patience, experience, and insight to get the job done. You have become a legend of your own time. I remember attending DPW meetings when you would have us stand and walk around the chairs and exercise and stretch. A truly unique individual. I was so scared of that basketball. It seemed to come with such force. Once I had the basketball in my hand, I'd do more traveling than Charles Carroll did in his RV. So much so that he used to call me Dancing Feet. Please know that you are truly appreciated for all that you do and have accomplished. Caroline, I must close before this turns into a mushy love letter.
I have had many teachers in my lifetime. Most of them I don't even remember. Many of them never taught me anything, or if they did, it wasn't important enough to remember. There are a few, very few, whom I remember with feelings of respect, appreciation, and gratitude.
My life and my career have been enriched by what I have learned from you.
You have been an inspiration to us all.
You taught me what it meant to be dedicated to the welfare and development of young people in body, mind, and soul.
Caroline, I have never learned to dance or stand on my head under your direction. I never became proficient as an athlete or a gymnastic. What I learned from you was far more important. You taught by example. You taught me love and respect, responsibility, to be punctual, to be prepared, to be focused, forceful, and fair, and tolerant for all.
Keep on dancing, Caroline. For all of us, keep on dancing.
It is our wish that BPW members will awaken to the call that you have made when you were state president, and I quote from the BPW Maine Businesswoman magazine, fall 1990. I'm making a mistake. 1990 issue. As we begin this last decade of the 20th century, and you permit me the honor of serving you as your president under the capable and visionary direction of the Executive Committee, we pay tribute to the local presidents and the officers who guide them, and above all, to the entire membership, as well as all of us together move from idea to reality and from thought to action. A few little closing, lovingly,
Félicitations,
with affection,
au revoir,
best wishes,
sympathie,
God bless,
a former student,
with warmest regards,
kudos proceed,
an older BPW member,
past, present, and constant admirer,
bonne chance et bonne chance de santé,
former, poor boy, laborer, U.S. Marine, student, teacher, principal, and superintendent. And it is with great pride that we present you this memory book from the county.
The master technician at work. And it is with great joy I present to you.
Now it's my turn. I had thought to begin my greetings to this assembly of friends by quoting some great philosopher, Plato or Aristotle, perhaps. Unfortunately, any impact my words might have upon future readers, all that keeps going through my mind is Jackie Gleason's famous phrase, "How sweet it is." Actually, I'm not quite sure what is sweeter,
the news of the selection, or the particular stories that keep coming to my attention from various letter writers. That my former colleague from the University of Maine at Presque Isle, Dr. Don Stimson, was in great distress that he was unable to write a supporting letter for the nominating committee because he and his wife, Rita, were only 20 minutes away from leaving on an African safari. Further, he was almost certain that they wouldn't have a fax machine in the bush country where they were headed, making even the most thoroughly ingenious excuse, or the most wickedly pathetic one, he never gave to any of our committees during all of those years in the county. Then I heard that our distinguished Professor Rita Graham offered to locate one of our former students who it seems to have parlayed her education with us into an Army generalship. Only Dr. Graham herself, a former U.S. Army captain, managed to break through to the Pentagon and locate four women of that student's name, but not the one who was the royalty in question. All with unlisted phone numbers. And so we are all of us pleased that the notification date finally arrived because, as I understand it, half of the retired UNPI faculty were about to take the hill, as opposed to being over it. I am certain that the University of Maine and Presque Isle President Nancy Hensel, who so kindly initiated all of this activity on my behalf, has quite enough to do with the regular university faculty, much less the irregular ones that she unintentionally let loose with my nomination. Members of the nominating committee, the selection committee, Maine's own champion, Joan, Benoit, Samuelson, good friends, special guests, and of course, Dr. Amadeo, Dr. Rebecca Lombard, who were charged with the pulling together of everything today. I cannot begin to express my appreciation for the honor you have brought to me, to my family, to the colleagues and good companions of my life. If the proverb is true that we travel on the shoulders of others, we must also embrace the fact that we are the total of all of our sweet life's influences, enriched by the love and caring of our human community. Each of us touchstones for one another. Benoit, Gentile, mother's watchful eye, that her children might themselves later be guardians of their own charges. The example of a dad's hard work, Gerardo, Gentile, that we might have impressed upon us the power of both example and work. You honor also the dear guides of my adult life, the late President Clifford O.T. Wedeen of the University of Maine at Presque Isle, who taught that we should all walk in service. And this Nellie T. Dunning, who taught all observers that dedication, loyalty, and commitment are not outmoded virtues, but are worthy and enduring qualities toward which we all might aspire, for no other reason than that they are worthy and enduring. It is a most wondrous experience to have others so unexpectedly shine a light on one's achievements, some goals reached, new ones yet formulating, and for this most moving moment in my own life, and to the many kind advisors from whom I have received counsel these many years, and who are now honored by your recognition of you, I thank you.
that wonderful? Aren't they special in the county? And now we're going to have the presentation for Joan Benoit Samuelson. And we are, again, sorry that she is not with us today. She was, as you know, the first women's Olympic marathon winner, and it was really an exciting moment when she was in it. She was nominated by the Augusta area professional women's club. Linda was Lauren Pasco, is the president, and Sarah Walton, who is a member of the council.
Join you.
Well, that would be lovely. We need you. Of the Augusta CPW, and Sarah is also president of the They were please stand. Good afternoon, everybody. As president of the Augusta Area Business and Professional Women's Club, it's my pleasure to be here today as we recognize the accomplishments of our nominee, Joan Benoit Samuelson, as she's inducted into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. The Olympic Games were established in 1896. In the original Games in Greece, women were forbidden, under the penalty of death, to even enter the stadium. In 1928, women were allowed to run 800 meters. But when two women collapsed and needed assistance during the event, the International Amateur Athletic Federation declared that women were banned from running races longer than 200 meters. Even during the 1960s, some of the AAF officials were saying that training for distance events might make women unable to bear children. But persistence, dedication, and commitment brought about change. 1984 was a monumental year for women distance runners. For the first time, there would be an Olympic marathon for women, and Joan Benoit would become Maine's first female athlete to achieve world recognition and fame. On August 5th, 1984, Joan won the Olympic Women's Marathon gold medal, setting a record that is to this day still unbroken. And Joan has become a hero and a role model for women everywhere, but more specifically here in her home state of Maine. Her dedication and commitment to achieving her goals and her resiliency to pursue those goals through adversity have inspired other young Maine women to pursue their dreams. Joan's achievements are many. As a freshman in the spring of 1971 at Cape Elizabeth High School, she was the only girl in high school, in fact in the whole town of Cape Elizabeth, who was running. Her first victory came in 1972 when she competed against another school that had one girl runner, and Joan won. In the spring of '72, she was named MVP, Most Valuable Player, of the Cape Elizabeth track team. Remember, she was the only girl on the team, and this was 1972. In October of 1973, she earned first place in her first road race. And in April of 1976, she came in first in the Portland Boys Club 5-mile race. Over the next few years, Joan continued to compete and pursue her dreams. In April of '79, she placed first in the Boston Marathon and set a new world record. When she placed first in the U.S. Olympic trials in Washington in May of '84, it was just 17 days after knee surgery. And in August of 1984, she brought the gold home to Maine. Joan has said, for as long as I can remember, I have been setting goals for myself and dealing with the consequences of either meeting or falling short of these goals. Her latest goal was to finish in the top 10 at the U.S. Women's Olympic Marathon Trials in Columbia, South Carolina on February 26th. Joan came in ninth. Following the trials, she had prior commitments that have kept her away from the induction ceremonies today, but her thoughts are with us. Her achievements have had a statewide impact on women in Maine. Joan has generously shared her experience and advice in her book. She has held running clinics and coached women's cross-country and long-distance runners, and she has served as a sports commentator and a motivational speaker. She has worked tirelessly on many projects, including the Samantha Smith Foundation and the Maine Women's Fund.
Studies have shown that participation in sports by young women can greatly improve self-esteem and enhance the chances of success in all areas of life. During the late 60s, only 1 in 27 girls in Maine participated in competitive high school sports. Today, that ratio is 1 in 3. Part of this increase is due to their cultural change brought about by having female sports heroes and role models like Joan, Benoit, Samuelson. We celebrate the spirit and potential of all Maine women by recognition of Joan and Carolyn in the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. I'd like to share with you 2 quotes from Running with Legends. The legacy Samuelson has left for young runners is that dreams can indeed come true, and that hard work can overcome many obstacles. And Joan's own advice to runners: love yourself for who and what you are. Protect your dreams and develop your talent to the fullest extent. Don't lose sight of your goals. No matter what the obstacles are, don't let anything deter you from your best efforts. Be tough, be stubborn. Love yourself and find friends who believe in you. And above all, recognize your victories. As we celebrate Women's History Month and applaud the women who have been recognized by the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, Carolyn and Joan have indeed shown that one woman can make a difference.
One of the quotes that one of the senators earlier today remembered to quote from Joan is, "I look at victories as milestones on a very long highway." To me, that is such an important sort of symbol of Joan and also the spirit of Maine women everywhere. Maine women who are very tough, persistent, they don't give up. Even when they are facing all kinds of obstacles, they keep on pushing. I think it's something that is in our spirit, but it really is so essential to women, particularly young women, to have role models such as Carolyn Gentile and Joan Benoit Samuelson, somebody that you know has kept on being persistent, kept on with the highest goals. I know when I was in the Attorney General's office for 8 years, working very closely with Rena Heath, whom I'm sure you all know, go in the AG's office, and at least when I worked there, they now moved downtown temporary while the state office was being rebuilt. But there was this big, long hall of photographs. These were all photographs of all the previous attorneys general. And in Maine, all of them, through the present, have been men. Every single one of them. Sooner or later, there'll be a woman who will be the Maine's first female attorney general. And that would be a great day, I think. Again, it's one of those things. But also, in the Attorney General's office, which is very helpful to people like myself, who was an assistant attorney general, not exactly sure that sometimes that I could keep on doing, keep on going, in spite of all kinds of criticism and other wonderful things, battles one has to fight, was this fabulous photograph of Joan Benoit Samuelson as she crossed the finish line in the Olympics. And it's so inspiring. It tells you that you can keep on going, that really is the spirit of Maine women, to keep on going. I also looked up in the Maine legislative record what Joan had said when the Maine legislature honored her in 1984 when she came back from the Olympics. It seems like a typical Joan kind of acknowledgement and thank you. What she told was a simple story. She told the story of a southern Maine road commissioner who had told her father that the county was going to bill him for repaving all the roads that Joan was wearing out with her daily lengthy run through all kinds of weather. I don't know if one can really wear out the roads, but if anyone could, it was Joan. Joan has worked tirelessly in Maine on behalf of a number of groups, as has been mentioned today. That includes Big Brothers Big Sisters, Special Olympics, multiple sclerosis, and Governor's Executive Council on Communities for Children. In 1998, starting then, she established a road race in Maine, which is a world-class road race, which attracts world-famous runners, all to benefit children's charities in Maine. Again, it's a way that Joan puts the spotlight on Maine and what, again, Maine can do, inspiring Maine women everywhere. I remember reading an article in one of the newspapers which had interviewed some students, including a high school runner, who said that it just was extraordinarily meaningful to her to have Joan Benoit Samuelson not only as a role model of being a runner, but also that persistence, that never giving up. And her persistence and endurance will long inspire increased self-confidence in Maine women, reinforcing the knowledge that Maine women are tough, they can compete, go the distance, and achieve great things. And that's why it is truly fabulous that we do have a Maine Women's Hall of Fame in order to bring special recognition and acknowledgement and visibility to these women that do serve a very wonderful, wonderful role in our state. And as my good friend Linda Morin Pasco quoted, we do indeed celebrate the spirit and potential of all Maine women by honoring the women that we have and will induct into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame.
We're going to receive the certificate on behalf of Joan Benoit Samuelson. I'd like to read it. Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women's Club, the BTW, Maine Federation, Futurama Foundation, and the University of Maine at Augusta present the 11th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame Award to Joan Benoit Samuelson, nominated by the Augusta Business and Professional Women's Club, presented March 18, 2000 at the University of Maine at Augusta, signed by Thomas Abbott, University of Maine at Augusta, Ann E. Spencer, President, BTW Maine Federation, and Jean L. Hammond, BTW Maine Futurama Foundation.
Joan sent a short note of thanks for this recognition. This is what she back. The Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women has honored me by selecting me to join the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. I'm only sorry that I will not be able to attend the ceremony and tea on March 18th. Perhaps my life will slow down one day soon. With great appreciation and best wishes to you all, sincerely, Joan Benoit Samuelson.
At this time, I would like to introduce Michael Doyle of the United States Postal Service, and he's here to do a presentation for us this afternoon.
Thank you very much. I'm here representing the Postal Service. This is our second year where we've been asked to take part in this program, and it's a pleasure to do so. Our district manager for the state of Maine, Ms. Elizabeth Johnson, could not make it today. She has just recently become our district manager, and she's still relocating from St. Louis. My boss also, who is also a woman, manager of marketing, also sends her regrets, and she sends me. I always get the laugh. It's a great honor for people to be inducted into a Hall of Fame, and likewise, it's a great honor for Americans to be commemorated on a postage stamp. And they're similar in this way, I think, in that we honor worthy individuals who otherwise might not get the recognition that they so richly deserve. And as I look at the names on this wall here, I think of the students who go to the university and will see these names and will be inspired to learn about the accomplishments of these outstanding women. And certainly the two inductees this year join that crowd. Like Dr. Hensel, I'm new to the state, so I'm from away too. I moved here last year, although I worked in Maine for several years. So I was not familiar with Professor Gentile's career, and that's a remarkable career to 54 years. When Professor Gentile started, stamps were only 3 cents. That's true. That's true. Wages were low too. Stamps are still a bargain. We're happy to bring this booklet today, which we passed out, and if anybody did not receive one, we certainly have more of these, which celebrate the women on United States postage stamps. And I think it's very interesting that of the thousands of postage stamps that there have been over the 150 years, there's only about 130, I think it says here, that honor women, which is maybe indicative of our society that we're still catching up with honoring women. Also, I think it's interesting, although several of these women are from the field of education, there's very few from the field of athletics. 2 of them are Olympians, and Olympic athletes who, frankly, I've never heard of. And but again, that's the beauty of the United States Postal Service stamp program, is that it does recognize worthy individuals, and in this way. The other athlete who has appeared on his stamp is rather well known, and that's Babe Harriet. Or maybe she's not that well known. I don't know. I spoke to some people about this yesterday, and they had never heard of Babe Harriet. Well, another thing, we had a lot of century-ending lists last year, and Babe Harriet on almost every list I ever saw was voted the greatest female athlete of the 20th century. She was, for those of you who may not know her, she was a great Olympian, track and field runner, and she won gold medals in the 1932 Olympics. She later became a golf star and won like every golf tournament there ever was in the world. She died very young in the 1940s. So again, I think this is reflective of society that women's athletics are just now becoming more prominent. When I was in high school 35 years ago, I don't think there was such a thing as women's basketball. Or if it was the 3-on-3 game, which was kind of odd. And that was the only women's sport there was, I think, in those days. And now we have this great NCAA tournament. Did you ever see Maine in that?
Southern Maine's going to win tonight.
I knew that. But that's a great honor that women's athletics has increased that way. So I have one of these plaques for each of our inductees, and it's my pleasure to present this one at this time to Professor Gentile.
Goes that moon.
He played golf in a rookie
Yeah,
college.
yeah, right.
Is that right? You hear that? You play golf in the
Yes.
Rookie Valley.
Rookie Valley Country.
But I'd also like to say a few things about Joan Benoit, Samuelson, who I'm eventually going to be here with us. I've had the pleasure of meeting Joan several times, and Joan is not only a great athlete, but she is also a very avid philatelist. And some of you know what a philatelist is. A philatelist is a stamp collector. And she really is a stamp collector, and since she's not here, I'll get to tell the story that she often tell. She says when she was a little girl and starting her stamp collection, she used to trim off the edges with scissors so that they look. Of course, that ruins the value of it. The first time I met Joan was when the United States Postal Service was the sponsor of the Olympics, and we unveiled the Olympian stamps, a couple of which are pictured in your book there, and that was in Washington, D.C. They showed a clip from her winning the marathon in 1984. If you've ever seen the movie that they made of the 1984 Olympics, Bud Greenspan makes a film every 4 years of the Olympics. The part about Joan Benoit winning the marathon is one of the most dramatic things I've ever seen in my life, and it's one of the most thrilling things, even if you know what's going to happen at the end. She led that race from beginning to end, and there's one scene in this movie which they filmed with a slow-motion camera where Joan is running down the road all by herself. There's nobody in front of her, and they close up on her face, and you can see the muscles in her face going up and down. It's a remarkable scene. She's a remarkable woman. I've never met her. I've certainly been very impressed with her the many times I've got to meet her. She also spoke at a postal function we had in New Hampshire, and she took questions from the audience, and one lady asked her how often a week she jogged. And Joan very nicely but firmly said, "I don't jog, I run." Joan also joined us at a ceremony we did when the Civil War stamps were issued, and we honored Joshua Chamberlain, the great Civil War hero, who again was not on those stamps. He should have been. But that was a good example of subjects being brought to prominence by postage stamps. I also worked with her at the Boston Marathon stamp. I met her in Boston when she was signing her book, and only she could get away with this. She said, "You know, I was running with the president this morning." And I was through. On the next day's Boston Globe, here she was running down the road with President Clinton. And she said, "You know, I was running with President Clinton this morning, and I told him that we should really have a stamp for the Boston Marathon." And sure enough, a year later, we did have that stamp. And finally, Joan was very gracious in letting us unveil a new stamp, which was the Jesse Owens stamp, at her very first beacon race. I guess that was 1998, was her first race. And that is a marvelous achievement she's done, and that she gives back to the community. So I'd like to present this plaque to Sarah to accept on Joan's behalf. Thank you all very much for having me for you.
Before you start, stand over.
We're all technically out. Present Jenny Foster.
Thank you. I just want to add something to the stamp that we talked about several years ago, and many of you in the room signed the petition that I sent to the national organization so that we could get Margaret Chase Smith on the stamp. They wrote back and said you had to wait 5 years after she died. And then I got to know it had been changed to 10 years. Oh. They accepted all of our signatures and said that after 5 years, make sure that I reported to them again. So I have written and said it has been 5 years, and that we will wait the next 5, but we certainly don't want to send another 2,000 stamps. And they said they certainly don't want to receive. They will see that it is put in operation, and hopefully, by 5 more years, we will have our stamp to Senator Smith. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Betty J. Hill, DPW Maine Past State President, with a presentation.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I have a tribute to read to my friend Caroline. You met life head-on with such courage and determination. Your energy and capacity for embracing a challenge and finding consensus is legendary. I thank you for the wisdom that you've shared, moments of need, for the quiet counsel you've offered in moments of potential division, for laughter, for logic, and for friendship. For all this and more, I am grateful for the presence of Caroline Gentile in my life, in the lives of the countless students, in the lives of the women of business and professional women's clubs of Maine. Finally, I thank you for all the calisthenics and parking lot runs I have led over the years. You are a consummate teacher, and I am honored to call you a friend. Joan is here. Congratulations on your induction into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Your achievements are a shining example of the stamina and endurance of Maine women across the ages. We ran with you in our minds as you won the first women's marathon Olympic gold medal. We run with you as you continue to be an incredible role model for Maine's young women. I realized the other day that we share a connection. Your Beach to Beacon race benefited the Big Brother, Big Sister program in Maine a couple years ago. As a member of the Advisory Council of Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Hancock County, I have seen how that donation benefited our children. Good luck in all the races and meandering walk Guilford Town. In the words of the Irish, blessing this day past St. Patrick's Day, may the roads rise to meet you, and may the wind be always at your back.
And at this time, I'd like to bring back Sally Ann Park, co-chair of the Hall of Fame. I was fortunate one day to get a phone call from the publicity being in the paper in the Silver area about the Hall of Fame, and there's a woman who owns a business called Journey Gift Bags. I've heard of it before, but she has a website and has some great gift bags. And she wasn't able to be here today, but she did send this along to me. This is a smaller one, and I have a larger one to present to each of the inductees. She wanted me to convey her congratulations on the induction ceremony today. She salutes the work and accomplishments in sports, which highlights the spotlight the tremendous satisfaction of physical achievement and their virtual link to mental and physical health. Your journeys have inspired all of us. As another remarkable woman, Helen Keller, once said, one can never consent to creep when one feels an impulse to soar. The Journey Gift Bag Collection was created as an elegant, sensible alternative to throwaway gift bags, to gift wrap. This Journey card tells the story of celebrations through the years as the bag is shared among family and friends. There's a little pocket here and a little booklet. And the Journey Gift Bag Collection is one that she has set up now on the website, and
We now would like to present Mr. Caroline of the University of Maine at Presque Isle on the 18th of March in the year 2000 as one who discovered the joy of athletes in his life. I salute your outstanding work in the field of health and fitness. Best regards, Nora Irving. So you can use this. Like this, there's a message in here so you can share that over the years with different people, for books, things like that. Yeah. For Joan Benoit Samuelson of Cape Elizabeth on the 18th of March, year 2000, yet another honor for one of Maine's best loved ambassadors. You always do us proud. Best regards, Nora Irving. Will you please pass that on, please? You may remember that earlier she provided another gift bag, which was presented to Dr. Leonard, who was the speaker here today. And she also sent, which I had only expected two to be for the two inductees, which surprised me when I received it a couple days ago. There was one for the speaker and also one for me, so I get to have one that I hadn't expected after I decided on a pine cone design as one representing Maine. And on mine, she said, "Thank you for organizing such a wonderful celebration of Maine women. Best regards, Nora." I'd like to thank her for her generous contribution to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame today. And almost last but not least, we have donated by just a paperback of the Elm Plaza in Waterville, a book for each of them, and this is picked out by my friend and the manager, Alan Richmond, who is not able to be with us today, but Nancy's going to give one for Joan Samuelson, and I will send it to Caroline Gentile. The name of it, Alan picked it out herself, is The Art of Living. Do you think these ladies are your program says your program says that we're co-chairman, but we want you really to know this is the chairman. 99% of the work, and Nancy and I have done the other half of the thing. That's not true. Come up and join me anyways, and they got me to join them as they were finishing. So we had the same idea to kind of all be together as we're closing today. I want to thank everyone for taking time to join us here today to honor two such great women and their induction into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. I personally have known Caroline for about over 25 years, and it's been a pleasure to have known you, and I'm very pleased that you have now been inducted into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame for all your accomplishments for the teaching field and for BCW world that I know you from. Joan Benoit Samuelson, and I hope, as Lois did, she will come join us at another celebration in the future so that many of us in the future will have a chance to get to know her better. Sure.
I'm sure that we can get all of the other wonderful things to Joan in a timely manner. I'm not so sure about the flowers, so what I'd like to do is present the flowers to Rena Heath, who was the one who originally decided that we should nominate Joan Benoit Samuelson to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame.
It's nice to be able to go ahead with one of her suggestions. It's always great to work on that, and I'm sure she'll probably have another suggestion in time to come, and we'll be very glad to work on that too. Thank you very much, Rena and Sarah and Linda, for all your hard work on that. I would like to thank all of the presenters for Caroline too. We enjoyed hearing a little bit about her history and what she's meant to the University of Maine Presque Isle, because many of the who are BPW members knows what you've done for BPW, and having a lot of your students here today over the years that they've enjoyed having you as a teacher. I'm sure that's a great tribute to you. I hope all of you have signed our guest book so that we can have a record of those that were here today. If you look at the program, there have been a lot of people who have helped all three of us in the presentation today, and I'd like to thank all of those who took time and effort and money to help us with that. There are several copies of the 10th anniversary book, the last year's booklet, and that one has a write-up of all the inductees through last year, and you're welcome to have one of those. I would like to join my two co-chair, Maxine and Nancy, in thanking you all for taking time to join us today, and all of you have a safe drive home.